Just want to jump on here and talk through stress and its impact on recovery. What we've got to understand is, as athletes, we are trying to push ourselves obviously as hard as possible and get the most out of our training as we can. And the way that our body works, got a go switch and a rest switch. And what we've got to make sure we don't do is press the go switch when we're trying to rest. And it's really easily done. And I see a lot of people making this mistake. And an easy example would be jumping in the ice bath activates the go switch, and having a coffee activates the go switch. And what we want to do, it's our rest day, not activate the go switch, make sure we're in that rested state. Now, what we need to understand is the nervous system. Now, the nervous system, we've either got the sympathetic nervous system, which is our primal state of wanting fight or flight. So we think that a predator is close, we're going to run away, or we're going to try and attack it. And that's kind of a way that we psych ourselves up. Now, in today's situations, that could just be that we have a presentation at work, or we have an important phone call, or important discussion with one of our friends that we find stressful. And all these situations can lead to a heightened stress response. And that's what we're trying to avoid when we're trying to recover. Now, what we need to understand about recovery in our rest system is it's called the parasympathetic nervous system. And what we're trying to do when we're activating that system is we're trying to feel calm. And there is ways to kind of activate that system and make sure that we're in a rested state. In some scenarios, it's harder to make yourself feel calm when you're in obviously high levels of stress. It could be from family life, or it could be from work, or it could even be from training. Now, I'm going to use myself as an example for a lot of these just because it's easier. Competition's coming up. I've got more stress because I'm training more anaerobic activity. It's harder to recover from. I normally like going in the ice bath a few times a week. I ended up taking that out because I felt like it was making me too overstressed, and I was getting a little bit of anxiety when I was getting out. And that's because, again, it's a stress response. When we jump in the ice bath, it stimulates cortisol release, which obviously makes us feel alert, and that's what we want. But on top of a high training volume, if we're in that state too often, we're too sympathetic, it's hard for us to calm down, and we won't be actually adapting from the training. A stressful couple of days maybe at work, and during those stressful couple of days you might find that you go to the gym, weights feel heavier than they normally would, and training feels harder than it normally would. And that's on purpose. That's your body's trying to stop you pushing yourself too hard because it feels too stressed. And that's something that you've got to learn to reflect upon, and it will help you develop as an athlete if you can recognize the simple cues. So if you feel stressed and you have a diary, all night's sleep because you've got a presentation the next day, that same afternoon you planned on going to training rather than going all out. Maybe it says 1 rep max and you had a planned 1 rep max that evening. Speak to your coach and say, look, I've had a stressful day, I'm just going to go to 80% today, and leave it for another day, and maybe test when you've had 2 days of low stress prior. And that's the harder thing to realize when everyday individuals were not professional athletes. And this same thing happens to professional athletes. They've just got coaches to talk to every day that help them understand their body's signals, and they've got a better compass of what they should do on different days. Now, I'm just going to give you a few things to think about when you're trying to make yourself feel a little bit calmer because you feel overstressed. Now, the first one, really simple, is caffeine consumption. So when you drink caffeine, or you have a coffee, you have a Monster, that obviously increases alertness, stimulate cortisol, adrenaline, things like that obviously make us feel really alert. And that's the absolute opposite of what we want to do when we're trying to rest and recover. So on a rest day, for example, for myself, I try and have half the caffeine that I would on a regular day. Guide that I try and keep. I can't go no coffee because it gives me massive headaches. I'm probably a bit addicted, but I enjoy it, and that's the way I want to roll. And the second thing is ice baths. Now, ice baths obviously reduce inflammation and make you feel really good, but they again activate a stress response. You want to stay away with too many stress responses. If we go through the week and have too much stress, it's actually not good for the body. A little bit's good, but I think today's society, stress is the best thing in the world, and we keep getting told that we want to fast and do all these things that are gonna make us feel better, but everything's in a dose response, and we've got to remember that if we dose absolutely everything we can, it's not going to have a positive effect, it's actually going to have a negative effect. So ice baths, if you're training multiple times a week, 5-6 times, I wouldn't go too heavily on it. However, depends where you strategically put the ice bath. It can be done. It's better to obviously have it in the morning rather than the evening, and try and think about chilling out in the evening. And the same thing goes with training. If you can ideally train in the AM, it helps, because then you can start to think about calming down in the evening. If you do train in the evening, going for a nasal walk or trying to do some meditation, try and do some breathing exercises after, will help down regulate your sympathetic nervous system and help you recover. And then obviously sleep, really important. You need to encourage sleep, so find ways and find things that help you sleep. Obviously blue light blocking glasses, magnesium supplementation can help for a lot of people, or other supplementations, there's plenty out there. Just talk to someone that you obviously trust. And then the last one is making sure you don't overtrain. Now if you're overtraining and you're doing too much, there's like a steady U-turn, imagine, for training. So there's a good dose, and then you step over that amount, and it can be very negative, and you can find that you're not actually getting better. So if you've gone through a period where you don't feel like you're getting better, and you've I haven't improved in a while, reflect upon how your structure of your week is. It could be as simple as you just restructure your week, and you could find that you just get the benefits you want from your training. It doesn't mean that you have to change your complete weekly schedule about. It could just be little simple things that you obviously just speak to your coach and say, what do you think the best way to structure my week is? And from there they can give you your opinion, and then that's it. If you have busy days at work that don't fit in with a busy training schedule, you can switch those days about. And it's just playing with it. And it's the same thing like alcohol consumption, obviously, is another stress. If you enjoy training all week and then you get to the Saturday and then you have a load of drinks, that's going to cause more stress over time. You're going to start breaking down your body more, and you're not going to be recovering. Now, from a parasympathetic state, obviously, if you're in a better state, your body's better at assimilating nutrients, it's better at recovering, it's going to be doing the right things to regenerate tissues, joints, all those things, your brain, your gut, all those things, it will look after if you're not overstressed. If you are overstressed, it's not going to be prioritizing those things, because it thinks that something's going to happen and it's ready to run all the time, and you're overstressed. It's just a few things to think about. If you've got any questions, drop me a message. Obviously, I could keep talking about this for probably an hour, but I'm not going to. If you've got any more questions, please drop me a message. If you feel overstressed, there is things you can do. Like I said, avoid ice baths too often if you're doing them. Avoid too much caffeine. Try and do things that help you sleep better. Make sure you're eating enough food. Fasting, again, is another stress that's going to add on top. And what will happen over time if you do too much is you're just going to down-regulate your body's systems and up-regulate certain systems that your body's just going to be out of whack. And this sometimes can happen when you feel like your body shape's not changing as well. So it could be a case of, I've trained like fuck, I train all the time, yet my body shape's not changing. Why is my body shape not changing? I eat well, I do it. And it could be just the fact you're doing too much and your body's overstressed. And if your body's overstressed, it'll be up-regulating stress hormones and down-regulating like thyroid, androgen hormones. And basically you're going to be getting worse, even though you put in loads of effort in. The overriding principle is you don't need to do as much as you think. This no sleep, train really hard all the time, doesn't actually do your body any favors. If anything, it's breaking your body down and allowing you not to recover from your training. So think about eating lots of good food, think about getting lots of good rest, think about still training hard, but think about recovering harder. And that's what you got to try and do. And saunas a lot better, in my opinion. When you get out of the sauna and your body starts to naturally cool, it does have a really good parasympathetic drive. Get yourself in calming situations. If you enjoy sitting out in the sun, chilling, reading a book, you're able to do that. Fucking brilliant. And plenty of other situations, sitting with your family, watching a film, reading your kids a book, whatever you want to do, and that chills you out, do it. If you've got any questions, drop me a message.